It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It means we're another week closer to our biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing, and things couldn't get any more hotter than what they are right now. Excalibur. JR, if you think this is hot, you got another thing coming tonight. AEW World Champion Jon Moxley will be in that ring with a huge announcement to make ahead of his title defense against Kenny Omega. Plus, the Casino Ladder Match qualifiers come to an end tonight for both men and women. Both Orange Cassidy and Conti face wildcard opponents. Can't wait to see who they are. Looking forward to that. Also, gentlemen, Chris Jericho is prepared to offer Sammy Guevara a peace treaty tonight, which is set to expire at Double or Nothing. How can we forget the assault by Miro last week on Dustin? We'll get an update on that here tonight, plus much more. So we're in front of 7,636 fans in attendance at the BB&T Arena to see Conti looking to qualify for the Casino Ladder Match, and so does Orange Cassidy, but they're not sure who they will be facing. Also, we've got a men's Casino Ladder Match preview as Cage takes on Allen, Janela and Hardy in a fatal four-way. Chris Jericho's peace treaty offering to Sammy Guevara. We'll also hear from Miro tonight as he's set to defend his TNT title against Cody at Double or Nothing. Pinnacle are also in tag team action. Hangman and MJF against SCU. And also the big one tonight, we'll hear from Jon Moxley. He has a huge announcement to make regarding his main event title defense against Omega at Double or Nothing. Evil Uno, Stu Grayson and Alex Reynolds and John Silver are seen sat in the crowd ahead of Dynamite's opening contest between Proud and Powerful and Butcher and the Blade. Evil Uno has a pen and paper, Stu stares, Reynolds seems half-arsed, and well, Silver is hyping himself up with his guns. And that match between Santana and Ortiz and the Butcher and the Blade is a decent match. And it's the Proud and Powerful that defeat Butcher and Blade. They are on such a roll at the moment, Santana and Ortiz, ever since having the managerial experience of Selena De La Renta. It was Ortiz that submitted the Blade, and we get a 60 for this match. Well, after the match, Eddie Kingston climbs into the ring, checking on the Butcher and the Blade. He then turns to Santana and Ortiz. Some history there. Selena is there also. All four begin to talk amongst themselves. It's like a catch-up between old friends. Butch and Blade then attack Santana and Ortiz, and Kingston is heard yelling, "What are you doing? Butch, Blade, for fuck's sake!" Butch and Blade exit. Blade sticks his middle finger up at Kingston. Does this mean it's come to an end between these? Eddie doesn't know which way to look or turn, and Selena continues to stand in the corner. She looks at Eddie and smirks, then exits with Santana and Ortiz, who have grins on their faces. So are we going to maybe see a reformation of LAX? Who knows? Eddie Kingston making himself known, catching up with some old pals. A vignette then plays of the private party. They're sat in a VIP section at a nightclub. The last few weeks haven't been favourable to them. ACH missing out on a spot in the men's Casino Ladder Match due to losing to Hangman. And Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn and Will Hobbs losing that six-man tag last week to the three. ACH is quiet, drowning his sorrows with multiple shots. Isaiah and Mark are just sat there staring into space, and Will Hobbs looks angry. Some people walk past, tipsy. One falls onto Hobbs. How could they? Hobbs snaps. He grabs the guy and throws him through a table. No one says anything. Security dare try to evict them. Hobbs goes back to sitting. What next for the private party? Well, we're going to find out very soon, probably after Double or Nothing now, as that segment gets a 44 as we roll into the next one. Conti awaits in the ring for her wild card opponent. Who is it going to be? Who is going to take the final spot in the women's Casino Ladder Match at Double or Nothing, Conti or her opponent? New music begins to play. Up on the Tron, fire spells out Baszler. Shayna Baszler is here and is all elite. She slowly walks out of the tunnel, takes in the crowd, then makes her way to the ring. So Shayna Baszler, All Elite, she's debuted her MMA badass gimmick, and it got an initial rating of great, which is fantastic to see. Getting a segment rating of 60 straight away. You've seen that golfing class of bringing someone like Shayna Baszler into the women's division. In a bout that had decent reaction for the crowd, but subpar wrestling, Shayna Baszler did defeat Conti in 10 minutes 37 after a brutal armbar. Locked in, cinched in tight on Conti. Look at that. Shayna Baszler with a 61 in-ring performance. I think that's probably the best in-ring performance we've seen from a woman here in AEW since the start of this save. A Double or Nothing promo plays. Next Saturday, the AEW World Championship will be on the line between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, a match that is 2 years in the making. Cody Rhodes looks to conquer that TNT champion Miro. After the past few weeks, he's made things personal. And Jericho faces his former protege, former partner of Les Sex Guards, a member of the Inner Circle, Sammy Guevara, in an ambulance match. And just confirms Shayna Baszler is the final participant in that women's casino ladder match. Here are the matches so far confirmed for Double or Nothing. Everything looking and shaping up quite nicely, if I do say so myself. In a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling, Brian Cage went on to defeat Darby Allin, Joey Janela and Jeff Hardy in this men's casino ladder match preview fatal 4-way. Cage pinning Janela with a flying elbow drop again. Still not using that drill claw. But Brian Cage with a 62, Darby Allin the better performer in this match. And both Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy did take stump bumps in this, trying to outdo one another. The match getting a 66. Well, after the match, Brian Cage exits after picking up the win. Darby Allin almost managed to break the pin if it wasn't for Jeff Hardy that held him back. So not only did they try and outdo themselves with stump bumps in this match, but it was Jeff that held him back. Both men now stand in the ring staring at one another, tensions rising. Joey Janela pops up out of nowhere and decides to go for a double clothesline, but Darby and Jeff duck and clothesline him to the outside. Then Darby and Jeff go back to staring at one another. Matt Hardy climbs into the ring and pulls Jeff away. Darby watches them leave. So tensions rising here between Darby and Jeff. Don't think Darby likes Jeff stepping on his toes. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. We're then backstage with Alex Marvez, who is joined by the world champion Jon Moxley. Marvez asks him what his announcement could be about tonight, and Mox just simply stands there and says you'll have to wait to find out. He does guarantee it will shake the very foundations of the wrestling world. He gets 70 for that simple backstage segment there with Marvez interviewing Moxley. Chris Jericho then makes his way to the ring as Judas plays. Once in the ring, he begins to talk about what the Inner Circle achieved and what he had planned for them. He's not angry with the collapse of the Inner Circle, just disappointed. He realises that him and Sammy can't keep attacking each other week in, week out, tearing each other apart. He wants to put a peace treaty in place and tell Double or Nothing. Sammy Guevara then enters at the top of the entranceway. He reluctantly agrees to the peace treaty. He wants a fresh Jericho. He wants to prove a point. Jericho catches him off guard by calling him a stupid, naive idiot. It was a ruse to get Guevara out here as the Butcher and the Blade attack Sammy from behind. Butch and Blade, who attacked Santana and Ortiz earlier, are now attacking Sammy Guevara. They drag him over to the edge of the stage and double powerbomb him through stage equipment on the arena floor, similar to what the Inner Circle used to do. That was like their signature move, wasn't it? Jericho walks past, he smirks, then leaves. So there was no intention of a peace treaty from Jericho. As mentioned, it was all a ruse just to attack Sammy Guevara, just to get that upper hand heading in to Double or Nothing next week. And at this rate, both men might not even make that ambulance match. They might be leaving in an ambulance very, very soon, as we get a 65 for that segment. Up next, Miro is in a dark corridor. He walks towards the camera out the smoke with his TNT title over his shoulder. He sneers at the camera for a moment or two before he begins to tell the world what he plans to do to Cody at Double or Nothing. What happened to Arn and Dustin is just the beginning. He plans to take everything away from Cody, to destroy him, to destroy his livelihood. He then walks off. And that's not bad for a promo from Miro, who improvised well throughout the segment, getting a 71. Things looking pretty good at the moment for Dynamite as we roll into our next match of the evening. Women's tag team action. Britt Baker teaming up with Tessa Blanchard against Riho and Mickie James, and in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd. It's Dr. Britt Baker and Tessa Blanchard that defeats Riho and James in 9 minutes 53. Tessa Blanchard pinning Mickie James again. We saw this at Blood and Guts. It was Tessa Blanchard's debut match in AEW, and she overcame the veteran Mickie James, and here she is again, this time on Dynamite, pinning Mickie James with a 57 rated match. And you can see Tessa Blanchard's in-ring performance very, very close to a Shayna Baszler in-ring performance, which we saw earlier this evening. Toni Storm races out to the ring and spears Dr. Britt Baker after the match. She's throwing wild fists, and then momentum swings in favour of Britt Baker. Tessa Blanchard watches on in the corner. Storm and Britt finally get to their feet, and then Tessa takes aim at the AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm, but Storm manages to dodge. Tessa follows through and takes out Britt, her tag team partner in the match that we've just witnessed. Storm turns Tessa around and they stare at one another for a moment. Tessa drops and rolls out of the ring. Not today. Storm watches her leave, then looks to attack Britt again, but referees are there to stop it. They escort her out of the ring and up the ramp. So Toni Storm back to, is she 100% after receiving that chair shot to the head from Britt Baker last week here on Dynamite? Well, she certainly seemed okay in this segment, taking the fight to Britt Baker, full of rage, full of aggression, knowing that she's going to have to defend her title against Britt Baker next Saturday at the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. Now, I enjoyed putting this one together, and you're going to see more of this next week on Dynamite also. From earlier in the day, JR welcomes everyone to the first of 2 face-to-face interviews with champions and challengers. Today, it's the World Tag Team Champions Dax and Cash face-to-face with the number 1 contenders, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. JR doesn't get to really ask any questions. Matt and Nick lead the way. They talk about how when FTR showed up here in AEW, they thought it was a great move for everyone involved. They saw it as a move that saved Dax and Cash from the bondage that was the sports entertaining world. It was inevitable that both teams, though, were going to face each other eventually, but since their arrival, things have turned sour. Hangman Adam Page turning his back on his friends. And Matt hopes FTR are happy for the divide that they've caused amongst the elite. But Dax argues back that they didn't cause anything. It was the elite all along with their shitty way of looking out for friends. It gets a little heated after Dax and Cash take shots at the Bucks. They haven't achieved much, going on saying what have they done, where have they travelled, just to Japan, and that's it. In the end, Matt and Nick get up and leave. They can't take it anymore. They don't want to listen to this nonsense. Dax and Cash rub it in by saying to the camera, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is your beloved Young Bucks. So we get 79 for this segment rating, heating things up for that huge showdown in just a week's time at Double or Nothing. Pac and Penta El Zero M make their way to the commentary desk. Pac on commentary and Penta stood just behind him. Pac goes on to badmouth MJF and how the little prick needs to be taught a few lessons. At Double or Nothing, he won't know what's hit him. We get 70 for that then, so MJF going to be in action, tag team action that is, with Hangman Page of Pinnacle against SCU, and in about that had great heat, good wrestling. Hangman Page and MJF defeat SCU just under 20 minutes for this match. MJF submitting Frankie Kazarian with a Fujiwara arm bar, and look at the in-ring performances there of Page and MJF. Imagine these two as a tag team, 71 or 76, the match getting the crowd hotter. Things are looking alright at the moment as Page and MJF continue to tag team together, trying to up that experience a little bit as Pinnacle, which was announced just the other week, Scorpio Sky slides into the ring after Kazarian eats the pin, but it ended in a submission. Sky helps him to his feet. He gives Kazarian some words of encouragement. He looks like he could use it. They leave together up the ramp and stand and turn back towards the crowd at the top of the entranceway as they are all giving them kind of a standing ovation. What does this mean? They are then joined by Christopher Daniels, who walks out of the tunnel and gives Sky a hand in helping Kazarian to the back. Is this may be the end of SCU? It took a while for Kazarian to get back to his feet. Having Scorpio Sky step into the ring and give him a hand. Who knows what's next for them. JR then goes on to say, well folks, just one more episode of Dynamite remains before the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. Next week's show looks incredible, as we're just getting word that Pinnacle, that's Paige and MJF, will team up to face the Lucha Brothers. Pac will be watching closely, no doubt, as he will take on MJF at Double or Nothing. Plus, I'll be sitting at the round table once again with another face-to-face, this time with Jon Moxley the champion and Kenny Omega the challenger. It has combustible elements written all over it. Also, after her debut tonight, Shayna Baszler will be in action, plus lots more for the go-home show. You won't want to miss it. We get 68. Last couple of weeks I've done this segment. We've got up into the 70s for that. It's time for the main event, the final place in the men's casino ladder match up for grabs. Orange Cassidy makes his way to the ring and waits for his wildcard opponent. After a few moments, Shinsuke Nakamura's music begins to play. Nakamura is back. He takes his time to make his way to the ring, soaking up the energy. We haven't seen Nakamura since the start of the new year, since he was announced as a marquee signing here in AEW. He was part of that press conference with Cody and Tony Khan. You can go back and check out that episode. We get a 60 for this. Nakamura struggled when going off script. He didn't really need a script, as he was just making his entrance ahead of this main event against Orange Cassidy, and it did not disappoint. In a good match, Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Orange Cassidy in 10 minutes 38 after a surprise cradle. Shinsuke Nakamura with the 71, the match getting the crowd buzzing. Orange Cassidy and Shinsuke Nakamura have great chemistry. You could just imagine these two going at it. I think those two would put on quite the match, probably a 5-star, 4-star, 5-star in real life. Both of their in-ring styles definitely complement each other's. We get 72 for this main event, this match here, as Shinsuke Nakamura takes up that final spot in the men's casino ladder match. Shinsuke Nakamura wins, celebrates in the ring. He begins to make his way up the ramp when Jon Moxley's music cuts him off. Mox works his way through the crowd. Nakamura watches him for a moment with a look of maybe disdain, then exits. Mox jumps the barricade and grabs a mic from the timekeeper's area. Here we go. The moment I've been waiting for. 2 years ago, I walked through a jam-packed crowd inside of the MGM in Las Vegas for AEW's inaugural pay-per-view event, Double or Nothing. With purpose, hoping to get the wrestling world talking, and by God did it. I made a statement. I'm here for the long term. I'm here to be your AEW champion. Now, fast forward 2 years, I walk into the same arena next Saturday as your goddamn AEW champion, and I will defend this title against Kenny Omega with my life. Sometimes, though, that ain't enough, as the past few weeks have shown. Kenny is determined to lie, cheat, and steal his way to this title. So I've spoken to Tony Khan about this match at Double or Nothing, how it deserves to be the spectacle that it is and not to be tarnished by Omega and his cronies. The main event at Double or Nothing will feature an official enforcer handpicked by myself and agreed upon by Tony Khan. Someone that'll stand no shit from anybody. Kenny Omega's music plays. He strolls out to the ring, flanked by Don Callis, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers, the Elite, the Bullet Club, whatever they want to call themselves. As we get 74 this segment, Jon Moxley cutting a promo here, so we know that there is going to be an official enforcer for the main event next Saturday at Double or Nothing with the AEW title on the line. Here we go for the next segment. Let's see what happens here when Kenny Omega gets involved with Jon Moxley. Kenny Omega stands up onto the apron. Jon Moxley is inside. Kenny has a mic and says, "You go right ahead, Jon. You add an enforcer to this match if it makes you feel any better. I don't care. It won't make any difference to me. I mean, I'm not the best bout machine for anything. The cleaner. I could go on, Jon. Sorry, I'm taking up your time. Please, put me out of my misery. Reveal who this mystery enforcer is." Mox shrugs, looks towards the entranceway. The sound of glass shattering echoes around the arena. Steve Austin makes his way out to a huge pop from the crowd. What the fuck? Stone Cold is all elite. JR going berserk at the commentary table. Omega, Callis, Gallows and Anderson are wide-eyed as Austin makes his way down the ramp. Business just picked up. He climbs into the ring and stands in between Mox and Omega. Shakes Mox's hand and Omega drops down to the floor and retreats. And Dynamite ends with Austin sharing a few beers with Jon Moxley, the AEW champion. What a sight. Steve Austin here in AEW and will be the enforcer next Saturday at Double or Nothing. And we get our first 100 segment rating. Wow. What a moment. And Jon Moxley coming up good on his promise that he made to Alex Marvez earlier this evening that this announcement would shape the very foundations of the wrestling world, just like Jon Moxley did back in 2019 when he debuted at Double or Nothing against Kenny Omega. Now Stone Cold Steve Austin is here in AEW and he is ready to be the enforcer for this main event, this spectacle between Moxley and Kenny Omega. A match 2 years in the making with one prize up for grabs, and that is, of course, Pretty Platinum, the AEW title. And we get 79 overall rating for this show. What more Dynamite to go before Double or Nothing, the biggest show of the year, the biggest show that I've probably put together in this save so far here on TEW. I do hope you guys are enjoying so far. 79 should definitely blow NXT out the water this week. Look at that though, our first 100 rating. And it had to be the final segment of the show as well. Incredible. And that little meeting between Nakamura and Mox maybe setting up something for the future. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's go and see how we've got on then with our ratings. So this week we drew a 79 show rating. And we got a 2.21 TV rating with a total of 1.66 million tuning in on the All Elite Network. We had 321,000 over on TNT. We had 964. We just can't get past that 1 million mark on TNT yet, can we? Who knows? Maybe we will at some point. I think in order to do that, we've got to be consistently getting 88 sort of ratings, show ratings every week to be getting past that million mark on TNT. Anyway, let's see how NXT have done this week also. So a 75 show rating this week for NXT, which does drop compared to last week. They got 1.758 million tuning in this week, so they do beat us in viewership. Anyway, that is it for this episode of Dynamite, this explosive episode of Dynamite. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all very soon for the final go-home show before Double or Nothing. Thanks for watching.